Seventh class, huh? Who is there from seventh class over here? Spandana, what are you doing over here in this class? This is which period do you have now, Spandana? She left, huh? Okay. Okay, yeah. So we're going to be doing the second lesson in your economics, that is sectors of Indian economy. Again, a fairly very easy lesson, but there are a few details over here, and you'll come to know how different sectors in the economy contribute towards our economy, contribute towards our GDP, which sector takes maximum people for employment, and what is the contribution of employment also in these different sectors. Right. So, on the top, who can tell me the three sectors of our Indian economy?
Primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector.
Absolutely right. Primary, secondary, and tertiary, something which we have already been learning since the 8th standard. But these are the three main sectors of the Indian economy. So, this sectors of the Indian economy, when we talk about these three sectors, it's not only unique to India. These three sectors, you go anywhere in the world, even if you go to the smallest of villages, these three sectors will be available everywhere. So this is a signature of economics, or you can say that wherever work is concerned, these three sectors you will definitely find. Okay, so it doesn't mean that only in Indian economy I'm going to find these three sectors. Anywhere in the world you go, you will find these three sectors, and these three sectors are the main sectors which contribute to the economy. So when we talk about the primary sector, okay, so this is the classification of the sectors to you based on the nature of activities which are done primary, secondary, and the tertiary sector. So in the primary sector, the idea that you need to understand in the primary sector is mainly it is in the development of raw material. Wherever the work involves development of raw material, we can definitely say that this particular activity falls under the primary sector. If you see the examples itself, you can understand it is agriculture, mining, fishing, forestry, dairy. So here the idea or the activity lies in the creation of raw materials. Without food grains, I cannot even imagine processing of food grains or packaging of food articles. It is not possible without the food grains itself. Without mining activities, we cannot have gold jewelry, we cannot have steel infrastructure, we cannot have the further manufacturing process that have whatever metal articles that you find in your house. Those things would not be possible without the mined ore itself. So mining over here directly falls into the primary sector, fishing, forestry, dairy. So all these activities, if you see, it directly relies in the creation of the raw material. It is called primary sector because it forms the base of all the other products that we subsequently make. Correct. It is the base. Without this base, all other sectors will not exist at all. Since most of the natural products we get are from agriculture, dairy, forestry, fishing, it is therefore called agriculture and related sector also. So, since most of them are agriculture based, that is why the sector is also called as the agriculture and related sector. Few images for you over here. Okay. So, next is the secondary sector. The secondary sector mainly involves the next step in any activity. Once the raw materials are received, for this raw materials to be able to come to the market, there are different lots of processing needs to happen, lots of manufacturing needs to happen, lots of conversion of their form would be happening. So the secondary sector, it covers activities in which natural products are changed into other forms through ways of manufacturing that we associate with the industrial activity. It is the next step after primary where the product is not produced by nature but has to be made. Some process of manufacturing is essential. It could be in a factory, a workshop, or at home. So examples of these are cotton fiber from the plant. From there, it is going to go to the weaving for the yarn to be spun. From there, it will go to the another next step, that is for the cloth to be woven. So these are the different steps in that. So the cotton fiber production is the primary sector. From that cotton fiber production, it's going to spinning of yarn. That is the secondary sector. And then the final cloth comes out. And from there, it will be transported to the main market. So that transportation is going to come under the tertiary sector. Using sugarcane as a raw material, we make sugar or wood. We convert earth into bricks. So these are the different processes that are involved in the secondary sector. Since it is a sector which is associated with different kinds of industries, it is also referred to sometimes as the industrial sector. Then we have finally the tertiary sector. These are the activities that help in the development of the primary and the secondary sector. You can also think of these activities as a support activities, very vital support it gives to the remaining two sectors. These activities by themselves do not produce goods, but they are an aid and support to the production process. Example, transportation. Goods that are produced in the primary sector need to be transported by trucks or trains or by ship or by air, whatever, and then they are sold in the wholesale retail shops. So, without the transportation, these goods will definitely not reach the market. Storage. At times, it is necessary to store these products in godowns. Food grains that are produced, most of the time, many times, they are always stored. Without proper storage, the weather, the climatic conditions will spoil these things, or they might be eaten by rodents, by mice. So that is why proper storage is extremely important. Communication, talking to others on the telephone, any kind of communication, mass media communication, social media networks, the newspapers, the television, the radio, all these communication, whatever is there, all these come under the tertiary networks. Banking, a very, very important function that it gives in our financial sector. Without banking, we cannot even imagine to have activities like sales, purchases, and all those borrowing, lending, whatever is done. Everything is taken care of by the banking sector. And since these activities generate services rather than goods, they are also referred to as the service sector. Right? So these were the three sectors, that is the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. Does anybody have any kind of doubt about what these sectors are and what kind of activities would be involved in these sectors?
No, sir.
No. Okay. How come there are so few students over here now? How many? Just 19 students, is it?
The last.
Last class, everybody goes to sleep. Not required class, no? Internet connection. Now, what happened to internet connection? Ray Ashish, खत्म हो गया? Okay. Anyway, yeah. So this is totally clear. Nobody has any kind of doubts. What about Pranal? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if it's clear, we'll move on ahead. Okay. So people are the main source of labor, definitely. Without people, we cannot imagine any human resource working over there. Definitely is the main workforce for all the three sectors, primary, secondary, as well as the tertiary. So now this organization of the workers is divided into two main blocks, that is the organized sector and the unorganized sector. Let us try and understand what is the meaning of this organized sector, what kind of people fall into this organized sector, and what is the unorganized sector. On the ownership basis, we have the public sector enterprises and the private sector enterprises. Wherever the government holds the ownership of the companies, these companies would come under the public sector, and wherever the companies or the industries they are privately owned, they would come under the private sector. A few illustrations for the service sector over here in front of you. Okay, so now a very important question is, now that we know that we have three sectors, the primary, secondary, and the tertiary, on what basis do we calculate or do we count the total production from all these sectors? How do I know what is the contribution of the primary sector, what is the contribution of the secondary, and what is the contribution of the tertiary? And once I know the contribution of these sectors, how do I find out which sector is actually important to me? Which sector is actually contributing maximum to the economy and which sector contributes the least? Has there been a change in this contribution? Is it that ever since the day of our independence, the same number of people, same GDP is being contributed by the primary? Has there been a change? Is our economy shifting more towards a service oriented economy, or is it still in the agricultural sector? All these things we will come to know once we study more about the GDP, a very important part of any economy of any country. We need to understand this very clearly what the GDP actually stands for and how GDP is actually calculated. If you see the news, ever so often, sometimes we see news statements say that India's GDP forecast has been dropped by 0.5%. India's GDP forecast is at 7% or by 8%. So there is always a different kind of calculation going on, and many times I don't know if you would be wondering, but I certainly do wonder whether people understand what this is in terms of real money value. When we say that India's GDP stands at 8.5%, what does this 8.5% actually mean? Or India's GDP has increased to 8.5%. What does this 8.5 actually mean? What is the meaning in terms of money? Okay. So the gross domestic product, it is the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year. And it provides the total production of the sector for that year. This is an absolutely new concept to all of you, and it may be a little difficult to understand also at the first time. So please concentrate and try to learn what this GDP actually means. So when I talk about the final value of goods and services produced in each sector, let us say, for example, the agricultural sector. Okay, under the primary sector, the agriculture sector lies. And when we talk about the final value of goods, a farmer, for example, has a field which produces paddy, rice. Now, this farmer has 1 acre of land. Okay, this farmer has 1 acre of land, and every year he puts rice. He grows rice twice a year on this land. Hmm. This rice which comes to around, whenever he harvests, the first harvest that he removes comes to around 100 bags of rice. 100 bags, this gunny bags that is there, he gets 100 bags of rice. Okay. Now in this production of this 100 bags of rice, he has definitely spent some amount of money. He has put in a lot of labor into that. A lot of hard work has gone into that. Lots of fertilizers has gone into that soil. Lots of water is taken for the growth of rice. Also, he is running pump sets so that he can pump water into the fields. The running of this pump sets requires electricity. So all this expenditure is there from him, right? All this expenditure is there. Now these 100 bags of rice that he has produced will fetch him some amount of money in the market. Okay. Say for example, once he sells these 100 bags of rice, as an example I'm saying, he would be earning 1 lakh rupees. That is what he is earning, 1 lakh rupees. This 1 lakh rupees is minus all the expenditure that he has put into it. 1 lakh rupees that he has earned from the sale of these 100 bags of rice, it is minus all the expenditure that he has put into his field, and this 1 lakh rupees is his final income that he has got. So when we are talking about GDP, that 1 lakh rupees is the GDP contribution from that particular field for that particular period. Have you understood this 1 lakh GDP or how I have got it? Students, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
What have you understood, Sharwari? Please tell me.
So about how that farmer gets the GDP.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, Purva. I'll tell you once more. Let me take an example over here. Now we have Ashish. Ashish owns 1 acre of land. Okay. And Ashish plants rice on that 1 acre of land every year. He grows rice on that because he loves rice. He is a rice eater. He loves rice. So he grows rice on that 1 acre of land. And for growing this rice on 1 acre of land, he needs a lot of fertilizer so that he gets the best quality of rice. He needs to spend some time on that field. Every day morning he goes, he spends time on that field and he produces that, does work on that field. He has a pump set running so that continuously water is there, the field is nice and well irrigated, and finally, after a period of say 5 months, he gets first class quality basmati rice. 100 bags of basmati rice he is able to produce from his 1 acre of land. He goes and takes that basmati rice and sells it in the market, and minusing all his expenditure, whatever he has spent in producing that 100 bags of rice, he gets a income of 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees is the income that he gets from selling that basmati rice. This 1 lakh rupees that he has earned is called as the GDP of his, or the gross domestic product of his field. And in the same way, that GDP is also a contribution towards our Indian economy. Did you understand that, Purva?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah. Now, of course, since this is the first time you are taking this concept of a GDP, it might be a little bit difficult to understand, but a very, very interesting concept to understand because this is how the world works. This is the machinery of the world and of every country. Economics is basically, the heart and soul of any country. So the sum of production in the three sectors gives the gross domestic product, and ultimately it will give you the GDP of any country. It is the value of all the final goods and services produced within the country during a particular year. And the GDP shows how big the economy is. Now, when we talk of GDP of India, we talk in terms of percentage, and the percentage is somewhere around 8.5%. But the bigger the country, the more developed the country, the higher their GDP is. Now, say for example, like China. China has a GDP to the tune of somewhere like 15 or 16. I'm not exactly sure how much it would be, but that is the GDP of that country. And when we talk about the US also has a GDP which is in terms of almost 15-16%, very, way higher than ours. But since our GDP is mainly dependent on the primary sector and agricultural driven economy, we have a comparatively lesser GDP mainly because our agriculture is still very heavily dependent on the weather and climatic conditions. And any fluctuation, changes in weather, natural disasters like floodings and all these things, they have a very direct impact on our GDP. So measuring GDP is undertaken by the central government ministry. It happens on a continuous basis and with the help of various government departments and Indian states. So that is how the GDP is calculated and measured. GDP part clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, 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 good. Okay. Okay, I will not go into the next part of historical changes in these sectors because again it will occupy much more time. So I want all of you to please read your textbooks till whatever I've done up till now. What we have done up till now is we have taken an introduction to the three sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. We have seen what activities fall into these three sectors, and then after that we went and saw the ownership or the division, whether it is organized labor or unorganized work. This is one kind of division. We also saw the basis of ownership, it's public and private. This is another division that we see in these three sectors. And then we learned about the GDP, that is the gross domestic product. How the gross domestic product, what the importance of this GDP is, we will learn in the next stages of this lesson. But till here, we will stop here for today. The number of students also is less. I do not want students to miss out on this. Hopefully next time we have more students. Okay, so if any one of you has any doubts while reading the lesson, please do post it in the doubt section, or you can also ask me next time when we have this class. Okay, so see you all next time.
Okay, bye.
Okay, yeah, bye bye, bye everyone.
Bye, sir. Thank you.